Hi everyone. So welcome to this information session for study in France in the Study in Europe fair that is held today online. So my name is Arthur Bioro and I'm in charge of the Campus France office at the Embassy of France in Singapore. So my job is to promote French higher education to Singaporean students. And today we are gonna have like a focus on the why should you study in France if you are interested in business and social sciences. We will also have the testimony of two alumni from ESSEC business schools that accepted to participate to this session. So again, thank you, and we can start. So, if we say France, you probably have some stereotypes or image in your mind that comes directly to your mind, like the bread, love, cheese and wine, the Eiffel Tower, these kind of things. But all of this is because there are reasons why France has of these images. Of course, you have a lot of monuments, a really intense and rich cultural life, many festivals, many things to see, many things to eat, many things to discover in France. Studying in France means also studying at the heart of Europe. As you can see on this map, France and Paris and the big French cities are never more than 2 hours away from any other capital in Europe. So studying in France means that you're going to discover Europe in the same time. France, of course, is famous for its world famous gastronomy with wine and cheese, oysters, seafood, like traditional Southwest gastronomy. It's really good. It's also a country of art and literature. You probably heard of Victor Hugo, of course, François Truffaut, Edith Piaf, Claude Monet. All of these people are really famous French artists. But France is also a country for innovation, as we can see, with all those scientists like Marie Curie, Cédric Villani, Jean Tirole, Françoise Barré-Sinoussi. France is actually the fourth most awarded country for Nobel Prize and the second most awarded country for field medals. So French research and innovation is something also really important. French is a high-tech country. Maybe you don't have this picture, but so we have a really strong aeronautic industry in Europe and in France in particular, with the Ariane project, the Airbus planes, the TGV, which is the fast train in France and that goes to Europe, London, Spain, Italy. And France, since for a few years, has developed a vibrant innovation ecosystem with different possibilities for startups and entrepreneurs to create their company in France really easily with La French Tech, for example, with more than 3 billion US dollar raised in 2017. Station F, which is located in Paris and is the number one largest startup incubator in the world with more than 1,000 startups created with Station F. And in 2018, between France and Singapore, we had the Innovation Year that had like more than 60 events, 12 official high-level visits, 20 cooperation agreements between France and Singapore, and 3 new areas of strategic partnership. So here you have a small map of France with the different cities where you have like the industrial poles of France. For example, if you are interested into nuclear industry, it will be more in Normandy, in the north of France. In Paris, of course, you have so many things there, but if you are interested in luxury, it's definitely the capital for fashion and all this kind of industry. Bordeaux is famous for its food and beverage, of course. Toulouse is famous for its aeronautics industry. Lyon for pharmaceutical, and Marseille for chemistry. So France and Singapore have really strong relationships since 1965 and the founding of Singapore. More than 20,000 French citizens live in Singapore today, and they are part of the cultural and economic dynamism of the city-state. And today, more than 1,000 French companies are implemented in Singapore. That means that if you study in France and you have a French degree, you can also work in Singapore in one of those thousand of French companies that are here. So now let's talk more about study in France in general. So what does it mean to study in France? Uh, Studying in France as an international destination is something really common. As you can see, we have more than 300,000 international students in France that make France the first most popular study abroad destination for international students, and actually the first popular non-English speaking country. Oops. In France, with 2.5 million students, we actually have more than 80 universities, and 224 engineering schools, 220 business management and accounting schools. And that's what we are talking about in this presentation today. So quickly, a brief resume of how works the French higher education system. So in France and more generally in Europe, you have the this ECTS, European Credit Transfer System. So in 3 years, you can have 180 ECTS and get the equivalent of a bachelor degree, which is called in French a licence, une licence. In 2 years after, you can get a master, which is in 2 years for 300 ECTS. And after that, you can go for a doctorate. But in France, we also have a specificity. So this is the path for universities, but we also developed a specific system in France that is called the Grandes Écoles system. It's mostly for engineering and business schools, and it's directly in 5 years to get the equivalent of a master degree, or they also have like global bachelor degree programs like ESSEC, and we will talk about it later. Or if you are a French speaker, you can also go through a class préparatoire and then prepare the Grandes Écoles programme, which is in French, or in English, depending of the school. Studying in France is not does not imply to speak French. Actually, no, you can come and study in English in most of the schools, most of the universities in France. We have today more than 1,500 programs taught in English in every field, from the bachelor degree to the master program. And also, some of the best schools and universities, they have their own English tract that they have developed for the last few years, like École Polytechnique, l'ESSEC, and other business schools or social science schools like Sciences Po, also ESCP Europe. The French degrees, as I mentioned before, are open to international recognition because they are following the European Credit Transfer and Accumulation System. Also, for Singaporean students, there are possibilities to make double degrees with Singaporean institutions, especially in the field of business and social sciences. Sciences Po have a double degree with NUS, for example, at the bachelor and the master degree. ESSEC has also programs between France and Singapore because they have their own campus here. And it's there are also, if you are more into engineering, but we will talk of this afternoon, there are also double degree programs available in those fields. So as I mentioned before, if you want to study in a French institution but you want to stay in Singapore, it's also possible because we have several French business schools that are implemented here in Singapore. INSEAD, ESSEC, and EDEC. So today we'll talk more about ESSEC with the alumni that are present with us today. So of course, because of all the situation, one slide about the impact of COVID-19 on the French higher education system. So because of the situation, French universities and grandes écoles, they prepared the 2020 intake in September to create a new way of teaching with the development of digital courses, hybridity of course content between face-to-face group work at the university or in the school, and more magistral courses in digital way. So no worries for that. All the security is preserved by the French universities and grandes écoles, and so it's I mean, even with this situation, it's not something that must stop you to go to France. So here you have like some links that I can share with you later if you're interested. About the cost and funding. So studying in France is actually quite cheap compared to other countries because the French government they subsidizes all students, even international ones. So that means if you go to a French university, that means that you will pay only 2,700 for tuition fees, while the government will pay 7,200 euros. For the master degree, it's kind of the same proportion. Also, the cost of living is quite equivalent to Singapore or even cheaper if you decide to study in other cities than Paris. The accommodation is cheaper, the transportation is same price more or less. Cultural and social activities are also cheap, and especially for students because they have the possibility of student benefits. For students, several grants and scholarships are offered by diverse institutions, national and local government, for example, the regions, the cities, of course, schools and universities. Sometimes corporations have programs with universities to fund their students. And also, the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs developed the FL Scholarship Program of Excellence that is also available for master's degrees. In Singapore, the French embassy developed the France Excellence Internship. So if you're interested into making an internship in France, you can also apply to this scholarship to have a financement of your internship in France, in a French company. Okay, so another link. What is it to live in France? So living in France is living in a safe country, especially regarding the health, social security, and insurance. All students and all persons living in France, they have to register to the social security, and they benefit from for health insurance, national health insurance, available for everyone, including international students. So that means that if you have like health problems, you will not have to pay a lot of money to be healed. Also, France is a business-friendly environment. It's today the sixth largest economy and home of 31 of the world's 500 leading companies. So, as I mentioned before, French companies are available in all parts of the world, including Singapore. So it's also a good opportunity for your job. Finally, French is an international language. As I mentioned, you are not obliged to learn French to study in France. However, while living in France, you will learn some of French, and it's actually a good thing because French is expected to be spoken by 700 million of people in 2050. It's actually the most widely studied language after English. It's also the official language of multiple international organizations like United Nations, European Union, of course, UNESCO, and it's easy to learn even if you stay in Singapore, thanks to the Alliance Française that propose French courses available to everyone. Okay, so now let's focus on the different courses available in social sciences and economics. So for social sciences, I will talk about Sciences Po. You probably heard about this school already. It's one of the most famous social sciences school in France and in the world. It was actually founded in 1817 and is home to 13,000 students today, ranked the first in the world in politics and international studies, and has more than 65,000 alumni all over the world, that studied in Sciences Po and are now in high position, most of them. It's an international oriented university. Almost half of the students are actually from abroad. I mean, they are not French. Sciences Po has also partnerships with almost 500 partner universities among the most prestigious in the world, like Columbia. Here they are partner with National University of Singapore, but also like in every country they have a partnership. More than 42 dual degrees are proposed to everyone, and you can study 25 foreign language in this school. It's also a research university with with 11 research units, over 4,000 faculties, and 35% of the Sciences Po budget is actually dedicated to research. So how does it work? Sciences Po, before it was only in Paris, but for the last 15, 20 years, Sciences Po developed several campus all over France, and all those campus are actually focused on international relations. Every one of them being focused on one region of the world. Le Havre, for example, is focused on Europe-Asia programs, Reims on Europe-North America program, and you have other possibilities, Poitiers for if you are interested in Latin America, Menton if you are more interested into Middle East, and Dijon and Nancy are more focused on European issue and French-German cooperation. For the undergraduate studies, so as I mentioned before, in France, the bachelor degree is in 3 years. For Sciences Po, it's in two languages of instruction, English and French if you are studying in Paris. But if you go to Le Havre or Reims, it's actually completely taught in English. So during your studies in Sciences Po, you will spend 2 years in France and 1 year compulsory abroad. You have three multidisciplinary majors, which are economy and society, political humanities, politics and government. And also, that's something really important in Sciences Po. The community service and practical experience are really, really valorized, and you are really are going to do some of those activities. So there are nine dual bachelor degrees available. And one is with NUS actually here, but you can also have a dual degree for your bachelor degree with British Columbia, Berkeley, Freie Universität in Berlin, Keio University in Japan, UCL, the University of Hong Kong, and the University of Sydney. After that, if you want to make your master, you need to go to Paris. In Paris, you have 7 graduate schools for Sciences Po, one more into law school, the Paris School of International Affairs, School of Journalism, School of Management and Innovation, School of Public Affairs, the Urban School, and also the PhD program for if you are more into research. Again, during your master, you will spend 1 semester abroad, either in exchange program or internship, and you also have dual master's degrees available with 17 partner universities. Okay, so now I will talk about ESSEC Business School. Most of you, if you are from Singapore, you must have heard about ESSEC because ESSEC is present here. And it's also one of the oldest business schools in France with over 100 years of innovation at ESSEC. It was founded in 1907 and never ceased to innovate and to anticipate the challenges of the future. So ESSEC was the first school to offer lessons in business ethics, the first to propose junior entrepreneur scheme in Europe, the first French business school to partner with large companies to create corporate chairs, the first school outside North America to be accredited by AACSB, the first French business school to create a business incubator, ESSEC Venture, 20 years ago. It's also an internationally oriented university with the ESSEC Asia Pacific campus in Singapore, but they also have a campus in Rabat, and we'll talk later about the different campuses. So some of the alumni, again, 60,000 alumni present all over the world. Some of them, so you have like people working from in France, but other in Singapore, like for example, Chris Chong, managing director in Capitaland. But for the French side, you also have Dominique Reinisch, chair of the board of director, Eurostar, ex-chairman of the Europe Group and the Coca-Cola Company. So as you can see, the biggest companies in the world. Uh, so ESSEC is an global and international business school with French roots. So they have today 5 campuses in France and in Europe. They have Cergy and La Défense, La Défense being the business district of Paris. Uh, in um, in Asia, they have the Asia Pacific campus in Singapore, and in Africa, in Morocco, they have the Rabat campus that is also open to every ESSEC student. They also developed the augmented digital campus, as I mentioned before, because more and more courses are made online, of course. So ESSEC created this digital campus available to everyone all over the world. So a little overview of the ESSEC Asia Pacific campus that is located in One North, aka the Silicon Valley of Singapore. So it's more focused in digital business, innovation and entrepreneurship, smart life and smart economy, business management in Asia. As you can see, it's a big place, 6,500 square meters, and you have a picture of the inauguration of the Asia Pacific campus that was inaugurated 5 years ago in 2015. So, what are the programs offered at ESSEC Asia Pacific? You have the Global BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration, the Master in Management, Master in Finance, Master in Strategy and Management of International Business, MSc in Marketing Management and Digital, the Global MBA, the double degree between ESSEC and my Executive MBA program, and executive programs and workshop. One of the most popular is the Global BBA program between France and Singapore. The programs offered at ESSEC Asia Pacific are among the best in the different international rankings. As you can see, 7 best business school in Europe, the third for the Master in Management, 4 for the Master of Finance, the third for Executive Education. For the QS Global Joint EMBA ranking, it was number 8 for ESSEC and my Executive MBA, and the QS World University Ranking 2020. Number 3 for Master of Strategy and Management of International Business. Number 3 for Master in Data Sciences and Business Analytics. And number 30 for the Global MBA. It's a triple crown accredited business school. As I mentioned, it was the first to be accredited by AACSB from the US, but also they are accredited by AMBA and EQUIS, the European accreditation. Okay, so now I will give the floor to Subida that will share her experience with us about ESSEC. So Subida, you can, do you see the, you can take the floor. I will share the presentation with everyone.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm an alumni from ESSEC, and now I'm currently based in Singapore. Okay, so maybe you can turn to the next slide.
Sorry, sorry, yeah, I had a small problem. Okay,
Okay, so I first started at ESSEC here in Singapore, and because I always wanted to work in Asia, but at the same time I also want to work abroad as well. So I started from Singapore campus, and maybe you can click a bit to show a bit detail on the slide. Uh, okay. All right. And then during my time here, I joined the ESSEC program called the Business Management in Asia because I want to discover a little bit about like Asia, not just only Thailand because I'm from Thailand. And then after a year here, I joined ESSEC campus in France, and I did two internships, one at L'Oreal and another one at Christian Dior Couture in their digital team. And then I finished the course, and then eventually I got a job back here in Singapore at Louis Vuitton in their digital team as well. So throughout my whole experience at ESSEC, it's not just only about studying business, but it's also about enjoying your life in a different culture, different environment, and it's really helped when you want to work abroad, because working abroad is not just only about technical skills, but it's more like cultural skill, how you adapt to people from different cultures as well. So voila, here a bit of my experience here. And of course, like you say, other, I also learned a bit of French as well when I was in France. So it's very easy now for me that I can work with the Louis Vuitton team in Paris and also here in Singapore.
Okay, thank you very much. I will also give the floor to Janice, who will share her experience at ESSEC with us too. So, up, I share also the presentation here for the Global BBA program. Sorry, it's always a bit. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi everyone. So I'm Janice, and I am alumni of the Global BBA program. I actually just graduated in July, so I just completed my 4 years program with ESSEC, and I'm currently working at Unilever. And today I'm just here to kind of tell you a little bit about my ESSEC experience, and then if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box, or if there's anything we can help you with. So maybe the next slide. Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about my 4 years at ESSEC. So I started off with the Singapore campus. So I did the first 2 years in Singapore with the Singapore campus because just like Smita, I don't know how to speak French. So, that's a very common question that we always get asked is whether you need to know how to speak French when you go to a French university. I didn't know how to speak French, so I picked an English track, and I also wanted to do it in Singapore. So I started my first 2 years in Singapore, and then afterwards, in my third year, I picked on a double degree program with Keio University in Japan. So I spent my entire third year at Keio University, and then I did an internship after, and then followed by going to the French campus to end off my entire ESSEC journey. Next slide. Yeah, so there are like a few things I like to point out about the program that I quite liked, which is why they asked me to be here for the sharing. There are three main things actually. The first one is the multinational cohort. So that's something that I always looked for a lot when I was looking for college. I don't know how many of you guys here are looking for college. Maybe a lot are looking for masters, but I'm sure that's something that a lot of people look for nowadays is to have a very multinational team and multinational cohort, so you really get to learn to work with different types of people. And I truly got that in the Singapore campus. I think that's because you have students coming in from Asia, and you also have a lot coming in from Europe, looking to explore a little bit more of Asia. So that's definitely a plus. And then the second thing I like to point out is the exchange program in Japan and France. So for me, I think I know that it's very rare for a 4 years college degree to allow you to be in three different campuses in three different countries. I think that's quite rare. The fact that I started in Singapore and then, I spent an entire year in Japan, which was great because it was longer than a 6 months. So you really get to, experience the country, experience the cuisine, the food, make, friends that are Japanese, Japan culture. And so I really quite enjoyed that. And then I also get to end up in France, which is where SA campus was. I was based in CIG, which is like an hour away from Paris. And so yeah, it's been a very well-rounded and international and diverse experience. Yeah, you can see on the photo, I'm having like hot pot in Japan with my friends, and then there's also Eiffel Tower Paris. Next slide. Yeah, so the third thing I really like to bring up is the internship experience. I think, as Sudeepa did mention, it's kind of funny how we have very similar companies experience on there. But I think that's something that I quite enjoyed about the program was how much they emphasize you to have real hands-on experience. So as you know, business school, that's a very important component of it because for you to explore your interests outside of theoretical things, it's very important for you to do hands-on, and I quite like that because ESSEC kind of shaped my mindset towards that. So in my very first year, I started with a startup called Benny Day, which is on the upper right corner. It was a great small team, really amazing, taught me a lot about marketing. And then I went on my second year to be in L'Oreal. And then my latest internship was at LVMH before I graduated. And I feel like all these internship experiences really shaped my mindset and helped me to prepare for the full-time job I have right now. So that's really great. And also we do have a dedicated career service team to help you with, resume viewing and also just to give you any sort of advice, which I feel like it's pretty important when you are 18 years old, first, entering into college and very lost and not knowing what to do. So that's also something that I quite enjoy. I think overall my ESSEC experience has been pretty great, but definitely open to questions if you guys have anything to ask about, Singapore campus or any sort of experiences. And I'll hand it back to you, Arthur. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janice, for this really, really interesting testimony. So, okay, so if you guys have any question, don't hesitate to ask. I see that there are one question in the chat box from Diane who asked, "What are the job prospects like for non-EU citizens in France?" So I don't know if Janice or Supida wants to answer, but I can also give my mine. The job prospects are, I mean, there is no difference between EU and non-EU citizen in France. If you are already studying in France and doing your internship in a French company and they want to hire you, there is no problem regarding your nationality or your citizenship. So yeah, it's not something I mean that must worry you if you want to work in France after your studies. I don't.
Yeah, and I can share a little bit because I have many non-EU friends who already found a job in France. So it's not really like a big deal if you want to stay over after you finish your school.
Yeah. Okay. Ouais. So are there any specific entry requirement for the ESSEC Global BBA in Singapore? We have a representative from ESSEC, so we'll give them the floor. Annick?
Non.
Sorry, Annick, we don't hear you. Check your mic.
Hear me?
Yes, it's working now.
Okay. Bonjour everyone. I am Annie from ESSEC Business School. I am based in Singapore. So thank you for your interest in the Global BBA program. So we have a question from Okay, say how. So are there any specific entry requirements for the global BBA? Yes, in fact, we are looking at a minimum average of 75% with good result in maths. So if you're doing IB, this is equivalent to a minimum of 35, including TOEIC and EE. Or if you're doing A level, this means that you need to have an average of B. At the same time, I mean, in addition to the academic requirement, we look at students who are holistic, like who have been involved in extracurricular activities. Okay? I hope this answers your question.
What is the process to enter in the BBA?
We have another question from Maria. Do you need to take TOEFL if you're a native English speaker or have been educated in English all your life? So if you're talking about entry requirement at ISEC, in fact, if you're a native English speaker or have been educated in English, then you don't need to take TOEFL or other English language tests.
Yeah, and for this, it's the same for most of the school or universities. When you have a Singaporean A level, you don't need to take a TOEFL test to apply for most of the universities uh, taught in English.
Mm.
Okay, so we have other questions. Uh, uh, do students stay after graduation, and what are the percentage of students who go on to become French PR or citizens? So yes, we have a lot of students that stay after graduation because they find a job in France, in a French company. Regarding the percentage of students who go on to become French PR or citizen, I mean, I can't really give you an answer. It really depends of the history of everyone, and sometimes you work 2 years in Paris for a French company, and then, for example, you are sent to Singapore or any other places. So I can't really give you like a complete answer to that. But if you want to work in France after your studies, it's possible and it's easy, as we saw before, because French companies are hiring. So the process to enter the BBA was already explained by Annick. A question from Alex. Are there any specific requirements for Sciences Po Bachelor of Arts? So you mean for the bachelor uh, taught in English, I suppose, in Le Havre or Reims. For the Sciences Po, yes, there are requirements. So it's the same. You need to have like good marks in more literature, social sciences, economics fields for your A level. And also, you need to go through a letter of motivation and one interview that usually is made face to face. For next year, it will probably be made online with like people from Sciences Po in France. Regarding these questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I can put you in contact with the persons in charge of Sciences Po admission for Singaporean students. A question from Wentin. Hi Arthur, are there any journalism film public universities you can recommend in France? So yes, France has many journalist school, but generally you need first to go through university or Sciences Po Institute of Political Education before preparing the exams to enter the journalist schools. It's generally more for the master degree in France that you can go through those paths and at the end get the like journalist degree from the schools of journalism. The most famous schools are in Lille and in Paris. Lille is in the north of France, and they are also really selective. But uh, the best way to get there is definitely to go through the Institute of Political Education, so Sciences Po or other universities similar to Sciences Po, to prepare those exams. A question from Jorge. Yes, we will send you the slides via email, and also the presentation will be aired on our YouTube channel and on the European Union Study in Europe website. So you can have it, and we will send you the slides, of course. Can you share what are the requirements to apply for a business undergraduate program in France for students who is attending the International French School in Singapore? No. Annick, maybe you want to answer?
Yes. Okay. So in fact, for students who are studying at IFS and doing the French bac, so they need to apply via Parcoursup. So there are various steps, which is you need to register your interest in Parcoursup, and then there's the exam, the written exam, and then the oral exam, and then you are admitted to the universities. Uh, Now the details are not out yet, and based on last year, the Parcoursup opened around early January. Yeah, so I hope this answers your question. And also, I mean, I will be doing a presentation at IFS in November. So at this time, we'll have more details about the Parcoursup dates.
Thank you, Annick. So next question from Mboon. Is there any tips for my university life if I want to study abroad? Um, so you are from Indonesia. How to follow the lesson in campus? So yeah, I mean it's completely possible for students which English is not the native language. Actually, when you arrive in France, there are like associations and groups for international students that are like basically helping groups. So there you can meet other international students and organize for your French lessons, English lessons if you need to, or like it's like some small networks. Also, the Office of International Relations of every institute in France is available for international students, and they can help you for everything like regarding the social security, for example, the visa issues, or any of these kind of things, because they are also in contact with French authorities. And Campus France offices in Singapore or in Indonesia are also here to help if you have any like specific questions on the administrative process and you need answer. So two questions from Senia. Do people usually go for a master's course straight after bachelor's in Sciences Po? What is the average age of students in Sciences Po master course? Okay. Yes, most of the people they go for a master after their bachelor in Sciences Po, because in France it's really common to go through the master degree. It's something, I don't know, cultural or something like this. But most of the people they actually go to the master degree. So yes, it's really common. And the average age of students in Sciences Po for master's degree, master courses, and in general, master, you are generally around 22 to 24 years old, because you start your studies at 18 years old. So it's 5 years, and yeah, 20, 22, 24, depending of your depending of your birthday, but yeah, generally it's like this. Are there courses to learn French while doing a master in France? Yes. Uh, First, most of the institutions they propose French classes for international students. ESSEC also. I'm sure. Annick?
For masters, I am not so sure. I know about the global BBA. Is Sonia here?
Yes.
Uh, Oh, never mind. I mean, we have your details, Senia, so we will ask the relevant colleagues to advise you about the French courses while doing masters. Okay, thank you.
And anyway, you also have the possibility to learn French in a language center. It's available in most of the student cities, all of the student cities actually. They also have language centers like Alliance Française, so it's completely possible to arrange with them if you want to to go deeper into your French lessons. And finally, last question from Seio. Regarding Sciences Po, is there any representative in Singapore that we could contact to ask about admission information for students based in Singapore? Yes, there is one person. So please contact me on our Campus France website, and I can put you in contact with this person and directly. And for the Senya's question, yes, ESSEC do offer French language class in all master program. Okay, so if we don't have any more question, thank you everyone for participating. Thank you to Janice and Subida for their testimony. Thank you to Anik also for answering some of the questions related to the BBA. It was really great to be with you. So you can contact us through our website. So there is a link on the European Study in Europe Fair website, so you can easily get to us, or you can contact us directly. To I will write the address on the chat box. So if you have any question for Campus France, you can contact me at this address, and I will answer you, and we can have a call, or you can also come to the embassy for face-to-face meeting. It's also possible.
Yes, thank you everyone. So I have also added my contact details in the chat box. So if you have any questions about ESSEC or the ESSEC Global BBA, do not hesitate to write to me.
Okay. So thank you very much again, and have a nice day. And we will have another information session more focused on engineering schools.
Okay, thank you everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.